Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back to Ayada's Corner. This month we are covering opioids, substance abuse, and how it impacts our community. I have my lovely guest ZamZam here today, who has worked in this space and will be sharing things that she's experienced, advice that she would give for those who are struggling, and resources that folks should be aware of. I'll go ahead and pass it to you to introduce yourself. If you can give us just who you are, background, personal, professional, and what drew you into this space to begin with.
Thank you. I'm ZamZam Ahmed. I was working with Alliance for the past 3 years and some change. Prior to that, I did my undergrad at St. Kate's for political science and international relations, and then worked a lot just with the community, with kids, daycares, schools, middle schools, different tutoring programs. Then I did my master's in data analysis, wanting to go into healthcare research. Then I ended up going into the addiction field once I started working at Alliance, more into management at first, but went into doing more individual work just because I saw how, like the relationship I was able to build with people, which is why then I steered away from the political side of the world, right? Because my undergrad was in poli-sci. And I wanted to work with people just one-on-one, just trying to see the impact that you can make on one person and the difference that makes on, just as a community, if you help one person, you kind of help a lot more than you think you did. And that is kind of what drew me into working at Alliance. I also have family members, friends that were struggling with addiction. Prior to working at Alliance, I didn't know much about addiction or that there were services, and once I found out what we have available to our community, I was really drawn to the work.
I love it. Can you tell us more about Alliance and the services and resources that are available to folks while you were working there?
Yep, so it is a culturally specific program which focuses mostly on East African men. There's 6 houses. It's an outpatient with lodging, which means that clients receive services at an office setting, but they also have houses where there's supervised 24/7, and they get peer recovery services, where that would mean that somebody who's been through addiction kind of becomes a companion with them, works with them throughout the time that they're there. They have counselors, they have mental health therapists that work with them as well. So it heavily focuses on the East African community. There's intervention programs where families and siblings or people who have other people that are struggling can come and we can talk to them, help them understand the services that are available, help them understand what addiction is, and that also we also do an educational program for the community where we do teach people about what's out there, what addiction is, what mental health is, what services are available as well.
Love it, love it. Given that you've been working in this space, what would you advise someone who is struggling with substance abuse that might be watching this video?
For those that are struggling with substance abuse, it's important for you to understand you're not the only one, right? You're not alone. There are communities out there, there's people out there that are available to help. The first step is, right, admitting to yourself and coming out of the denial, right? The longer you stay in denial, the harder it is for you to seek help. Especially the topic we're talking about, opioid use, is the hard thing is you don't really see what happens to the person over time, because it's either you get out of it or you die, right? It's literally a two-way street, two route. And so one is just, understand that there's people out there, there's people that do care. And the second one would just be selfish in the sense of know what's good for you, worrying too much about what people are going to think about you, worrying about what your family is going to think about you isn't going to really get far for you. Yeah. So understanding there's people that are out there to help you, there's people that do care, there's services like Alliance that you can seek help at, and just understanding at the end of the day, whatever choice you're making is affecting you, regardless of who else tells you they're getting affected, it affects you as a person. So being selfish on that end.
That's really good advice. And then on the flip side of the coin, what would you advise a loved one who's watching someone that they care about deeply go through substance abuse?
So there's different groups of people that watch their loved ones struggle, right? There's friends who are seeing their friends struggle. And so there's the friends, there's mom or dad, and then you also have siblings that watch a loved one struggle. For all of them, I would say don't give up on that person, because at the end of the day, there's a quote that my mom always says, because I have a brother that struggles, is qof nool ma laga quusto, right? Somebody who's alive, you can't really give up on them. And so don't give up on the person, and educate yourself, right? You need to learn what is out there. How do you talk to somebody who is struggling? What are the right things to say? How do you identify even if somebody is struggling, right? What signs do you look for? And also educating yourself on the sense of just not being ignorant. So, because if you know what is out there, then you could help the person a lot better. And then also look at yourself too. Because for siblings, for parents, for friends, when we're seeing something like this happen to a loved one, we also start to get affected mentally, right? So take care of yourself, because if you're not healthy, you can't really help anybody. So don't be judgmental, find services, look into educating yourself more in the field, and also look at yourself and focus on your mental health as well while you're at it.
Yeah, that's really, really good advice. How has stigma, so in our culture, Arab culture, how has that impacted individuals seeking help?
That's the hardest thing that gets people not to admit when they're using, right? That pushes them further in denial. Parents are worried about, oh, what is, Hablai going to think of me? What is this person going to think of me if my kid is struggling? And so they try to hide their kid as much as they can, which then, in turn, she's not looking for help. She's not seeking services. It pushes the kid a lot further into the addiction, because you get depressed when you're the one that's struggling and you're being hidden and you're ashamed to the family. You get more depressed, because now you're thinking about the effects that you're causing on your family. And when you're guilted or shamed into hiding your addiction, then you don't seek help, and you suffer alone and you suffer in silence. I think that's the biggest thing that Arab culture has done to us, is it shuts you out. You are suffering in silence. But if we're being realistic, we are all struggling, right? Whether we're quiet about it or not, it's happening. Yeah. And the sooner we're able to recognize what is happening in our community, the sooner we can help people. So our culture has really pushed people away from seeking help.
Yeah.
Everything's out.
Yeah, and I feel like to that point that you're making, a lot of people don't know the severity of the situation because people are hiding it and they don't want to admit that their kid or someone that they love is suffering from it. So I think this is a message for anyone who's watching this, that we need to start to acknowledge that this is normal and that people are affected by it, as ZamZam shared. So parents, I think especially our parents, they're first generation, they're coming to a new country. This is something that they're not used to. What would you advise a parent who might be watching their child's health just deteriorate and they don't know the signs of substance abuse, or what would you advise to them?
The first step is getting rid of that Arab culture, right? Not being ashamed, and asking people, talking to people, first talk to your child, right? If you're not talking to your child, you're not gonna know what is going on with them. You can go and talk to everybody on the outside, but if you're not having that conversation with your kid, there's no way you're gonna know what is happening, right? So talking to your kid and keeping an open mind, because a lot of times when we are talking to somebody, we come with an agenda, not because I'm concerned for you, but it's like, hey, you're doing A, B, and C and it's not looking good. But it's not. It should be more of like, okay, I see this is happening with you, and I'm concerned. I want to know how I could help. So keeping that open mind, not coming with an agenda, and educating themselves on what is happening in the community, right? Because we have this tendency of like, we all know somebody that's struggling, right? And so a mom that lives in Minnesota today knows somebody who has addiction, somebody who has mental health. So talking to those people, right? Talking to those family members, just so you know what is happening, and you'll see the signs on your kid, right? Every mom knows their child better than anybody else. And once you do recognize the signs, if the kid is still shutting you out, then go seek outside help. Talk to people, say it out loud. The more you hide it, then you can't really help anybody. And also, the biggest problem with Somali moms, dads are out of the question, but Somali moms, is they do enable, right? You tell your kid, oh, if you do A, B, and C, I'm gonna buy you a car. What responsibility are you giving the child then? Right? Just because you want them to get better, but when you make all these fake promises, right? There's all that, I'm gonna take you out to vacation, and you take them to Somalia and you lock them up somewhere, right? Fake promises, empty promises, that shouldn't, them getting better should not, lead to you scheming and lying to them and making these fake promises. And so just understanding at the end of the day, you're in America, you're in Minnesota, this is happening, this is a part of this generation. Find the help that you need to find, say those things out loud, and set boundaries with the kid, with your child. If you find out what they're actually doing, let's say they're using opioids and you found out that's what's happening and they're not talking to you, but you found companies or organizations like Alliance that are willing to help. Give the kid a boundary, an ultimatum. Either you do A, B, and C and you get better, or I can't be here for you, I can't help you, right? Because if that son or that daughter knows they could always just come back to the house, they're high, they're doing whatever, then they have no reason to get better. Right? Being able to set that healthy boundary where you're not completely pushing them away and you're not shutting them out, but also telling them, for you to get better, you need to do A, B, and C. Or if you don't want to do what I'm telling you to do, what do you want to do? How could I help you? Maybe listen to that too, because sometimes they know what they want to do, and support them on that end. And that was a lot of advice, but
I love it.
Educate yourself, be open-minded, and be willing to listen to your kid.
Yeah. And conversation starts with a conversation.
Yes.
Man, I'm just taking in everything that you're saying. You've been working in this space for 3 years.
Yes.
So what are the life-changing moments you've experienced? I'm assuming you've seen so many people come in and out of Alliance and that you've helped so many families. What are things that till this day stick to you, continue to fill your purpose?
I think the biggest one would be the du'as that we get from the moms, right? And I said I don't have emotions, but that makes me really emotional. But the du'as that, when you see a mom who has no idea what mental health is, no idea what addiction was, and they bring their kid to you, and you do whatever you can, you offer those services, you help them, and in the way, while you're helping the kid, you're also helping the mom, because we educate her too, right? Your son has A, B, and C, or your daughter has A, B, and C, and this is what she's doing, this is how he's doing. So walking them, because I know I've seen parents who've taken their kids to like other treatment centers that are majority white, and nobody really tells them what is going on, right? But when we are able to tell them your kid has A, B, and C, or this is what schizophrenia is, this is what bipolar is, and they understand them, and they see their son from the day that they brought them to like 6 months or 3 months down the line and how they're doing, and the du'as you get, that has been fulfilling and rewarding. And then also seeing that individual transform, right? One of the things that we do when somebody comes into the program is their first day during intake, there's a photo that we would take of the person, and that stays with them, right, throughout the time that they're there. And they look at that too sometimes, and they see how much they've changed. People that are using opioids a lot of times lose weight. And anybody who's actually in addiction, right, you forget your hygiene, you're not taking care of yourself. And so when you see this person go through that transition and actually finally become an actual adult, right, making doctor appointments, going to the doctor, going to the dentist, checking their weight now because they're gaining weight and they're looking healthy, and then celebrating them when they complete the program, and celebrating them when they're 1 year sober or 2 years sober. I think that's been rewarding as well and very fulfilling, and to see the amazing things that these people are capable of. Because when somebody is struggling with addiction, right, keep this in mind, like at the morning, you're broke, you have nothing, right? But by the end of that night, somebody who's struggling with addiction will find a way to get their drug or their substance, right? So that tells you just the mental capability that they have, and the smartness, and just the intelligence that's in that person. But if that's geared towards the right things, the things that our boys and girls are capable of is, mashallah.
Yeah, the sky is the limit.
The sky's the limit.
I'm so sad because this is the last question and I want to keep talking to you. What's next for you? I know that right now you're in a transition, so you're leaving the space of working with individuals in Alliance. What's next for you? What's your goal after this?
Yeah, so a lot of the work we did was mainly focused on men and boys in the community. I think the women have been forgotten, right? They do suffer in silence. We don't see a lot of girls seeking help because the app culture is still really heavy on the girls. So essentially at some point I hope to be able to do something where we, like how we talked about, offer spaces that are safe and comfortable for women, where they can actually go through the transitions, or they have a safe space to come to, or somebody that they can come talk to with no judgment. And how that's going to look, I don't know, but inshallah khair. But I still will hope to continue to work with people struggling with addiction, struggling with mental health. I think that was my calling, and I love doing it, and I will continue to do it, whether I'm working at at a program or not. I think I still answer my phone when anybody calls me that needs help, and I still do deliver, and I do what I need to do to help them.
Allahumma barik, Allahumma barik. Well, those are the questions that we had for ZamZam. ZamZam, I don't think this is going to be the last time we see you over at Ayada Leads.
I hope not.
This has been a very wholesome conversation. I hope you continue to come back. We'll have more people join us as we continue to talk about very important topics in our community. Jazakumullah khair, ZamZam, and assalamu alaikum to everyone who's watching.
Assalam, thank you.